Hey everyone, Duke Nougat 3D back to bring you another exceedingly rare gas mask from my collection, and today we have the ever-elusive Japanese Shigematsu GM-56N industrial mask. Now forgive me because this is another mask I know little to nothing about aside from what's already kind of out there, and even then that's very little. But like most things Japanese, the GM-56N seems to be a copy of various US designs, more notably sort of a mishmash of the MSA Clearview and Ultraview style masks, excuse me, to a certain degree. Although it does not seem to be a direct copy of anything in particular, and does seem to have some of its own design aspects to it. I do not know when these were first produced. I'm assuming sometime within the 1960s, and I assume they got used into the early 2000s, but I could be very wrong. My face piece is dated Showa 1972, or Showa 47 that is, which is 1972, which makes this face piece earlier than the JSDF Type 1 that I have, or at least the filter that came with it. Because, as I mentioned in the previous video, I do not have an exact date for my JSDF Type 1 face piece, only the filter alone. But this, like the JSDF Type 1, is another complete kit. However, it is in a little bit worse condition, but still exceedingly rare in the United States, and you see even less of these than JSDF Type 1s, surprisingly. Let's start off with the bag, as usual. The bag is a very interesting orange canvas. Like the JSDF Type 1, it does not have a removable strap. However, the hardware is a bit higher quality this time. You may have noticed this odd zipper, which is used for easily accessing the mask to pull it out of the carrier. You have the basic fabric loop here for retaining the filter canister, the Velcro flap for closing the carrier. You have another user identification marking tag on the side here. This seems to be done on most Japanese post-war masks and not specifically the military ones. You have an indicator window on the back of the carrier here to show you what type of filter is installed on the mask and basically maybe give you a view of the expiration and things of that nature. The waist strap is an improvement from two ribbons to a metal clip, which has a swivel on it. Interestingly, you don't really see this with gas mask carriers, where it has the has a swiveling sort of deal going on there. But overall, this is one of my more interesting gas mask carriers. You don't really see too many orange ones, let alone ones with zippers spanning the entire length of it. The filter, again, nothing too special, just a simple box-type canister with separate sets of plugs, a bit higher quality rubber this time. And I unfortunately do not have the markings translated. I do know that this is dated Showa 47, so 1972. The hose, as you may have noticed, is not connected to the mask. It is this is probably the worst condition item of the set. There are several tears and holes all throughout the hose, and I've tried repairing them, but it's just too difficult and I've had no success with it. Moving aside, let's move on to the mask here. The mask is in overall decent condition. However, there are patches of cracking and dry rot in between the lens crimps. There is a small hole underneath the lens itself. The harness has lost all elasticity, and I believe there is cracking somewhere in the lens, but I could be wrong. Overall, aside from that, it is in very decent shape, especially with how rare these are in the States, and I'm very lucky to own one of these. I have never seen one of these for sale in the States, let me reiterate here. Just exceedingly rare mask to find in the States. You have the a very wide and semi-flexible panoramic lens, a very tiny oronasal cup, a TISO deflector system, and you have the central inlet-outlet valve assembly right here, which does not seem to be valved at all. The outlet valve has a valve, but there is no inlet valve, except for on the nose cup valve disc, which is interesting. You may have noticed that the outlet valve cage has no chrysanthemum pattern, but it's pretty much the same concept. Very, very cheap rubber valve, which I could see breaking very easily. which is I'm glad is still intact. And also intact is the serial number and Showa dating plate here. This, like I said, this was missing on my JSDF Type 1, but it is complete here on this Shigematsu GM-56N. If you look closely there, you can see the markings of Shigematsu on that top crimp, and you see TS full vision mask, patent number 726640. I have tried looking up the Japanese patent number for this mask. I've found nothing, unfortunately, but if anyone has a lead onto that, I would be greatly appreciated. The buckles here seem to be reminiscent of the UltraView and M17 style buckles, where there's two prongs that loop through the rubber and hold onto these tabs molded into the face blank. The head harness uses a similar oilcloth material to the M310-116's head pad, but it is in a C8R1 style configuration. It is marked STS and Shigematsu Works Company Limited. There really isn't too much else to mention outside the mask itself, so why don't we move on to the inside and we can basically wrap up the video. As you can see, the harness has lost all elasticity, so there's no stretch to it anymore. So inside the mask, as you can see, it is very roomy. It sort of dwarfs the size of the oronasal cup here. You can notice that it has a slightly different texturing pattern to it. It says sort of a Asiatic style loop pattern, if you can sort of see that there. The nose cup, as I've said, is extremely tiny. This cannot fit anything but Japanese faces. You can see the plastic ferrule on the bottom there for the valve assembly. I'm not sure if there was ever a valve in there for the inlet, but I honestly doubt it though. And you can see the very dwarfed, tiny, but still fat TISO deflector system. Really not too much else to mention about this mask. It is not one of my favorites. I'm not too big a fan of its design, as interesting as it looks. It's still one of my more appreciated ones, though, considering how rare it is, as I've constantly said here. Excuse the sniffling. So that really is all there is to that. I hope you enjoyed, and if anyone has any more information on these masks they'd like to share with me, that'll be totally fine. Be sure to ask any questions you may have regarding this piece, and I'll be sure to answer them accordingly. Hope you enjoyed. I'm Duke Nougat 3D. Hope you enjoyed. I'm repeating myself here, because I don't know what else the fuck to say, so see you later.